Yes, I cannot believe it. It is 9:30 at night, and I am on the East Coast at least, and I am here with Libertarians, sadly still drinking coffee live. Yes, I'm doing it. I'm insane, but I do love my coffee, so I'm here. Yes, thank you so much for this very special late night Libertarians Drinking Coffee live. And it is late night because the person I'm speaking to, she works for a living and she's on the West Coast. So I had to be good to her. It's kind of how it works. It's all good. But this should be a very interesting show and a very special Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live because I'm bringing aboard for us to chat with the chair of the Arizona Libertarian Party to talk about this or last year's election season, the one, the only, Emily Goldberg. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you? Thank you for the delightful introduction. That was great.
Well, there we go.
And yes, I'm drinking coffee too. So
it's not. We're all doing it. It's true. We are all doing it.
We know the gods love us because they gave us coffee. So that's
correct. If you want to follow Emily or see what she's doing, you can head over actually to the Arizona LP website. It's AZLP.org. So. Emily, I have to ask you, we're I think two important, or maybe not important. I mean, I think they were important, but at least popular elections in your state. It was the senatorial election and the governor election. Now, I ran for governor in New York, and I got my buck that couldn't get on the ballot. And I think you had a similar issue. I mean, usually, I know Barry Hess. He has run many times. He's usually the guy who's able to make it happen. This time, when we have, Kerry Lake, who's still, I think, in court, if not mistaken, and Hobbs, they're still fighting this thing out. We didn't have a libertarian candidate. Can you tell me why? What happened this time?
Yeah, so actually, we began primary season with something of a contested primary. We had two candidates collecting signatures. Barry, who has run for governor 6 or 8 times since 1994, and
I was going to say like 100 times, but I'm about right. 6 will work.
Yeah, was many years really our ballot status insurance candidate because he got us percentages of the vote that we needed to stay on the ballot. This year, Drew Heaton, who is Pima County's chair, that's the county that Tucson is located in, had decided she also wanted to run. So both of them were collecting signatures in the spring. Neither of them got the requisite number of signatures by the turn-in date.
Now, hold on. Did they make a change on this? Is this a new rule?
It's somewhat new. So the Republicans in about 2014 and 15 blamed us for Kyrsten Sinema's election to Congress. And initially there was a legislative bill called HB 2305 that was going to increase our signature requirements and the signature requirements on the Democrats, was going to restrict some ballot harvesting type activities that the Democrats were known to do as well.
Yeah.
The Democrats and the Greens formed a coalition to refer that bill to the ballot. We collected 110,000 signatures. When it was clear, it took us about 10 months. When it was clear that HB 2305 was going to get referred to the ballot, was going to get repealed, and in Arizona, when there's a citizen referendum, it takes on the gravamen of a constitutional amendment. So
I see. Okay.
So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So that scared the Republicans. They went back to the legislature like 11 o'clock at night, 3 days before the session ended. They repealed it of their own accord. In the off season, our legislature only sits for 4 months. On the off season, they got together with the Democrats and threw them some bones. And the next year, they brought in a bill, HB 2609, that one increased the signature requirements on us about eightfold and let
eightfold
and let the Democrats off the hook. So once upon a time, our candidate.
Hold on, Emily. Wait 1 second. What you're telling me, to be clear, is the Republicans said, let's trash everybody. Then the independents got together and said, you can't trash us. The Democrats were helping. And they went, okay, fine. Democrats, you're off the hook. Let's just trash these guys. And Democrats
pretty much.
That makes total sense. Yes.
They blame us for a lot of things. They don't really look at the ways that they let down their own constituency by not running
as if they care.
Marketable candidates. So
right.
they blame us for Kyrsten Sinema's election to Congress, and we heard it from the horse's mouth. Andy Biggs, in so many words, told the then state chair and Maricopa County chair that the word had come down from the RNC, get those goddamn libertarians off the ballot in Arizona, whatever it takes. And so that's what
we got the exact same thing here in New York. I understand. That's why they literally sued me off the ballot. They went to civil court to sue me off the ballot.
Well, yes. We have that happen candidate per candidate individually. A lot
there we go.
And in fact, that is something that I'll talk about when we get to the Senate election.
So let me walk to that road if I could, right?
Yeah.
What drives me nuts is that the average American has no idea that the big parties just sue people off the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And they always go, well, why aren't you on the ballot? Well, because we literally get hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuits thrown at us so that we can't be on the ballot. We are literally thrown off the ballot. But the part that bothers me about this isn't, I mean, it's going to sound dumb, but it isn't that I'm mad at the Republicans and Democrats for suing us off the ballot. It's bad, but I get it. What has always bothered me, and I can't wrap my head around it, is how dare judges let them? Like, how dare a judge sit there and go, this person wants to remove the rights of an individual to vote for somebody. Yeah, that's good. I'll do that. Why is suing someone off the ballot even a thing? If I was a judge, I would go, no, I don't care. No.
Well, yeah.
But clearly I'm not a judge.
Yeah, no, it depends. And, usually they find some sort of colorable argument. This year, another factor that we had in a number of races was redistricting, which occurred very, very late for us. It's supposed to occur in the spring of the year following the census. The census was in 2020. It was supposed to occur in the spring of 21. Didn't even happen until about April of 22. And so we were already in primary season when we got suddenly the new electoral maps. And that
I have a worse story. Yeah. I got my electoral map while I was petitioning.
I'll bet. That's what we had this spring. That's what we had this spring. That's what we had this spring. And, and so there were people who, one of our legislative candidates, for example, who was sued off the ballot. Well, he began collecting signatures based on the boundaries of his district according to the old map. Could you blame him? But by the time the signature turn-in date came along, the redistricting had been imposed, and suddenly some of his signers were no longer qualified to sign for him. And that was the basis that, in this instance, it was the Republicans used to remove him from the ballot. So what I will say about the suing process, in 18 years that I've been in the party, there are 2 instances where I am aware that we have sued somebody to get them off the ballot. And in one instance, it was like outright fraud. Somebody who the Democratic Party just sort of didn't want because she was a little on the Looney Tunes side. decided that she would go through all her petitions and white out DEM and plug in LBT. And initially, swear to God, and initially we sort of said, well, we might have a candidate in the race we weren't really thinking about before, let's talk to her and see. But she was smearing our brand because she had sort of a lot of wackadoodle theories about the government implanting electrodes in her brain and other things that were.
Well, that would have been exciting, at least, Emily. It's something.
Well, so we actually have very, very short time standards to bring that kind of a challenge. And so it is exciting, but you got to hustle to get the pleadings written and filed and whatnot.
So let me stay in the governor's race if I could for a second. With that in mind, do you think that we would have affected the race if Barry would have been in? Do you think we would have affected the race either way? What's your gut?
Yeah, I do.
You think Hobbs would have still been the governor, or you think Lake would have won the governorship?
It's a tough call because there was not a widespread between them.
Right.
But having said that, Lake really, Arizona historically is a, not just a red state, a blood red state, has gotten much more purple. But Lake shot herself in the foot the week of the election because she made some statements about regulating the press and controlling the First Amendment. And those anti-constitutional statements. I mean, she is a big fan of Donald Trump. And if you watch her videos, you will see that whether it's that whoever's coaching her has watched him or whether she's hired one of his coaches, she mimics the body language, mimics the gestures, mimics the facial expressions. And
I got you. Let's move on because Joel says he says, remember that time we had ballot access in New York? It looks like there are slippery snakes in every state. Joel, I would agree. It's not just New York. It's Arizona too. It's all over. The duopoly goes out of its way to punch us no matter where we are. I mean, yes, absolutely.
Well, and we have had a couple of other go-rounds, with the state over things like the voter registration form. They decided to take our name off of it, and we sued, and the state came back saying that the state had a fundamental state interest in a stable two-party system.
Yes. Oh my God.
All the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which denied certiorari. But
that you said that we had a judge who literally said, "Yeah, no. The whole goal of this is to make sure no one gets in the ballot who can't win." And the judge said that, if you can't win, don't get in the ballot. That's wow. This is literally ballot suppression, and the judges are 100% on board.
Picking winners and losers, from the bench. Absolutely. When they're supposed to be neutral.
Let's shift over to the one that kind of affected the Libertarian Party a whole lot more directly, right? Which is the senatorial race with Blake Masters, Mark Kelly, and Mark Victor. And Mark Victor was the Libertarian.
Right.
So someone asked me to ask you, why did Mark Victor drop out and endorse Blake Masters? Now, I don't know if you know the answer, but someone asked me to ask you that question. So I'm asking you that question. Do you happen to know why?
In a substantive way, I do not. I have wondered if it was a prearranged agreement he made with them, and I don't know the precise answer to that.
Well, if it was a prearranged agreement, it didn't work because people still voted for Mark Victor, even though he wasn't officially running anymore. So if they made a deal, that deal didn't work.
Right. No. So what he had early on, he likes to make videos, and he had made a video saying that he thought he was the best candidate for Arizona, and he gave a number of, very decent reasons why. And he said, but I'm open to, talking to either of my opponents. And if one of them can convince me that they are the better candidate for Arizona, I will drop out and support them.
When did he do this?
He did that the second week of October, I think.
So it was early.
Well, he'd been running for 14 months. I don't know if it was early.
Oh my God, he was running for 14 months?
His campaign was well underway by the time of our state convention last January. We are obligated as a political party to hold what functions as our corporate annual meeting, which we also use as our convention, in the month of January each year.
Understood.
And so
he was already ready in January.
He was up and running in January. So there was no issue about that. What I believe is that probably the Republicans saw that their numbers were flagging and that they decided to take him up on the offer at that point in late October when their numbers were flagging. But
let me go back to Mark though, right?
Yeah.
That he was running for Senate. So was there someone else who wanted to do it, or was he the only libertarian to do it, or were the other libertarians who want to do it?
I had heard chatter about other people considering it. He was the only one who wanted to do it enough to mobilize himself, create a website, mobilize volunteers, go out and get the signatures, get on the ballot, participate in debates, and etc. So,
got it. Okay.
I mean, I think there's sort of that, 10 o'clock at night at a party meeting musing, hey, maybe I oughta kind of thing.
Got it. Okay.
Then
but he was the one who really showed up and did it. I got it.
Right. The grit to actually go out and, pound the pavement, get the signatures, file the paperwork, etc. He had that this time.
100%. I get it.
Yeah.
So let me, if I could, ask the next question.
Yeah.
When he started running, did the Republicans and or Democrats come after him early, like in February, March, with like, hey, do you know? If you don't know, it's fine. But if they came to you, did they come to the party itself and say, hey, will you endorse one of us? Did they do any of that?
Certainly not to the party.
Okay.
If they came to him and to his campaign, which of course, separate corporate entities, separate financing, etc. If they came to the campaign, I did not hear about it.
Got it. Okay.
Certainly, there were events that the party had a booth at over the course of the spring, and so did his campaign, and we saw each other in those venues. And to my knowledge, he was running. Running and running strong.
So he's running, people are behind him. He starts to falter in October, saying, maybe I'll drop out, maybe I'll do so-and-so. Was the general party apparatus, or even just the average libertarian that you speak to, were they, and this is something I don't know, I'm not there, were they kind of like, yeah, Blake's a good guy, drop out, Mark, we don't care?
No.
Were they like, no, don't you dare drop out? What was the average Arizona libertarian thinking?
No, the average Arizona libertarian was very excited, very excited that we had a candidate on the ballot, that it was somebody excited to be campaigning, that it was somebody who had, energy and exuberance, and who, is good on his feet and had a really substantive track record. Mark was a criminal defense attorney. He's got, the criminal justice reform chops, on an extraordinary level. What I guess
so that means what I'm hearing is that we were, because from the outside looking in, I was actually excited about Mark Victor, right? I wasn't outside of it, but as I was looking in, I was like, this is a good deal. We got a guy who's going to be on the debates. You're right. Now, I thought it was a good deal.
He did make a statement at the televised PBS debate that was controversial, and some libertarians became disenchanted after that. I think that those of us inside the party knew exactly what he was talking about, maybe wouldn't have given him exactly that as a talking point. But we hustled, to sort of do damage control and compensate for it afterwards. So
the party had to be really pissed off when he dropped out and endorsed Masters. I mean, if we're supporting him and then he screws up and then we back him anyway, and then he drops and endorses Masters, I mean, I feel like you probably want to have a mutiny on your hands. Is that true?
There was a lot of rage and a lot of despair, and you are not wrong that a lot of that, I mean, when you're in this role, you get the whatever it is people feel about the party. And so did I get about 600 emails, people like really not happy? Oh, yes, I did. And, did I issue a statement saying, the party of principle doesn't kowtow to bullies? Oh, yes, I did. And, there was an LNC meeting that weekend. And did I, draft another statement and get board signatures on a resolution and get, other supporters around the state to support it? And did we put that in the record of the LNC? Yes, we did. Did the county chair in Maricopa and the county chair in Pima make their own statements? Yes, they did. It was certainly, we have had a very trying year with a number of different types of upheaval. I will not bore you or your audience with all of the chapter and verse, but it was a very trying year for the party. And his candidacy was, the brass ring. And this was the thing that gave people hope and enthusiasm. And his decision, I guess one thing I will say is Masters is not just a mega Republican, but an extreme mega Republican, and has
but hold on, I want to walk down this road though, Emily. I actually don't care. I don't care. I don't know Masters at all. I don't care if he is the greatest Republican, the worst Republican, a good libertarian light Republican, or it's irrelevant to me. This is my personal opinion. I was so fuming angry, I wanted to call him and insult him. I did not do that because I'm an adult and don't do things like that. But I wanted to do that. I had that anger and rage that I wanted to call him and call him names.
I had to go to bed and be in a cold sweat for about a day or so after doing the damage control. I was getting like, the first 36 hours was like this full throttle adrenaline. People from National were like, how did you let him do this? You asked us to support him. How did you let him? Like, did he ask me? And so, it was just very, very, I think I don't even remember. I spoke to, I don't know, 5 publications in the days afterwards, but I think it was Reason that I told that it felt like a punch to the gut, you know, and when the damage control was over, I had to just like go to bed and
Don't
be
talk
in
to
a
Reason
cold sweat for a day.
Don't talk to Reason. Do not talk to Reason.
Okay.
Reason's not our friend. Reason is not Libertarian Party's friend. Not our friend.
Yeah.
Not our friend.
Well,
I'm sorry. Just like Reason's not our
friend.
No,
I did talk
Knight
to them.
says,
it's actually Brian Doherty who wrote that article. So
yeah, and not our friend. He wrote it because it made us look bad. That's why he wrote it.
Yeah.
He wrote it because it made us look bad. Brian's not our friend either. I'm sorry. I know it sounds terrible, but I'm just being clear.
No, I remember him from 08, and in 08 he was at least
that's 08. That's when we had Bob Barr, a Republican. That's when Reason was our friend.
No, I was the person in 08 making the anti-bar buttons and handing them out. So
when we had Bill Weld, they were our friend too, a Republican. They love us when we have Republicans on our line. That's when they love us. I'm sorry, some people are gonna be mad, but it's fine. Let me cover Knight. Knight says it's kind of a shame how one statement can ruin a good run of an LP political candidate. And I agree with that. And it's an unfair standard, right? Democrats, Republicans can say the dumbest, horrible, most terrible things all day long. Libertarian says one thing that seems wrong and they hammer us. And we're all doing damage control. I mean, he's right, isn't he, Emily?
Yeah. And you know, without getting into the weeds of the statement, and we have discussed some of these things inside the party ourselves. In Arizona, there are ages of majority that range from 14 to 30, depending on what the life activity is. And I'm not exaggerating, you know.
Emily, let's not walk down that road. Can we please not walk down that road? I don't want to go there, please. Okay. Let me go on to what David said. Dave says, I was pissed off, and I'm from Iowa. Dave Smith suggested he would have endorsed the Republican. His Republican was a libertarian-leaning Republican. That pissed me off. Well, I want to touch this piece if I could. Yeah. I am not against an individual in our party deciding that one duopoly person is a better candidate for their specific race and choosing to endorse that candidate. I'm not necessarily against it. I don't like it, but that's the end of the world. You might think that in your race that the Democrat Republican is a better candidate than either the Libertarian or no one. Either one. I understand that. That isn't my problem. It really isn't. If Dave Smith honestly believed that Masters was a better Libertarian, again, I don't know this, fine. That isn't my problem. But if you believe this as a candidate, like if I'm Mark Victor and I think that Masters is a better candidate, then I shouldn't run. I should just stay home and vote for Masters. That's fine. People do it all the time. Right. My problem is once you decide to run for office, you take libertarian money, time, energy, emotion, press, everything. And we don't have much of that at all. So you take those resources that we don't have, that they're so valuable. And you take those resources, and then at the last minute, not only do you drop out, which again, sometimes people get burned out. Running for office is punishment. And if you want to drop out, just drop out. But you drop out and give those resources to a duopoly that literally sues us off the ballot. Right. So you literally gave our finite resources to an enemy that literally attacks us on a daily basis. In my view, unacceptable. 100%. Mark Victor is completely wrong. He should have not done it. Screw him. And if you're listening, Mark, screw you. You should not have done it. You were wrong to do it. Either just drop out and say, hey, I can't handle it. Just drop out and endorse nobody. You don't, but it's fine. And then vote for who you want to vote for. Or take it to the end and make our resources the best you possibly can and do the best you can with the resources you took. Yeah. Sorry, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox, Emily. I apologize.
No. You're fine. And very honestly, he wrote to me 4 or 5 times after the election, and I'm I'm trying to be, you know, professional and a lady in this role. And I knew that if I responded to him, I was not going to be able to hold myself to that standard. And so I did not respond to him.
Yep.
From my perspective, you know, my board came in with, among our goals, a goal to double our voter registration. We did not accomplish that goal, but, you know, having had that goal to grow the party and spread the message, you know, our brand matters, our banner matters, our flag matters, you know, and that this is sort of the only acquaintance that a lot of people are ever have gonna had with
100%.
a libertarian, or what one looks like, or what one sounds like, or you know, believes. And that's the net effect is devastating. It's just devastating. And
the worst part about this is it affects everybody else, because everybody else who was running, whenever you run for office, and if anyone here is listening to this or watching and you're a libertarian, you run for office, you know, you always get the same thing. I can't vote for you. You can't win. Why don't you drop out and endorse the other guy? We all get that constantly, and we're always fighting it. And what he did is he reinforced that stereotype even harder. He made every single libertarian running, he made every single one of them, their life harder. When all you had to do was just drop out. Just go, I can't handle it. It's too tough. Guys, I love you. I don't want to throw any more money away. I'm going to leave. Just drop out. And it's fine. And he could have voted for Masses if he wanted to. It's fine, whatever. But when he did that step, that hurt all of us. And Ryan says, I was also pissed off when Victor dropped out and endorsed Masters, who ended up losing by 5% anyway. He says, Masters put me asleep in another podcast. My point is, it was for nothing. So you ruined everything, hurt our party, hurt everything for nothing.
Now this is the piece, okay? This is there. So two things that make me wonder if that was his plan all along. The first piece was the controversial comments he made didn't come out during a relevant exchange in debate. He sort of threw them out at the end of the debate.
Ooh.
Totally non sequitur, totally ad hoc.
Oh, and I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so when I saw that, I was like, what's he trying to do? So that was the first thing. The second thing, you mentioned the suing. Well, routinely, every candidate we get on the ballot gets sued. This happens. They didn't sue him. They didn't sue him.
Huh.
And I was just relieved enough that we had him on the ballot that I didn't stop to say, wait a minute, how come he didn't have a candidate challenge? Why aren't they suing him? And so,
very interesting.
You know, I mean, there are a lot of different ways to connect the dots. And depending on, you know, who's to say how they were originally connected. But the fact that that statement came out completely non sequitur, the fact that they didn't sue him, and then the fact that when the Republicans' numbers were down, he essentially threw the race to the Republicans. I have to wonder, okay, you know, is this an agreement that got made wherever, you know, at GOP headquarters with Masters' campaign manager? You know, we also have sort of a separate shadow political community of mega people. They call themselves the mega load, who specifically endorse the current Republican chair, but other Republicans who are, you know, fans of Donald Trump in particular.
So do you think that maybe, I mean, I don't know this. Again, I don't know Mark personally at all. So I don't know this. I don't know the Arizona landscape very well at all. I've been focused heavily on my own state. So do you think this is a world where Mark might actually get some kind of benefit? Like they might, I don't know, get him a Republican job or make him a candidate for something and he'll get a congressional seat? Or is that the kind of thing that could happen?
There has certainly been discussion among sort of the LP movers and shakers that maybe that's what's going on. There has been discussion now in terms of a job. No, he doesn't need one. He's got a very successful law firm that operates in 2 states, so he's not looking for a job. But the question of whether he's looking for street cred to run as a Republican for something in 24, we all have speculated that.
Got it. Okay, so that's a maybe.
I would say that the compass points, again, and I don't know. I mean, he's got a long history in the party, so so who knows? So has, he decided that our brand isn't worth anything to him anymore? Who knows?
Maybe.
Okay. But
Grace says, it is especially hard when the GOP actively tries to lure LP sympathizers away from you on a good day. You get knifed by one when you get knifed by one of your own is even more infuriating. I agree. That's a great point, right? Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time talking to both the left and the right. A lot of people, libertarians, focus heavily on the right. They think it's easier to get more people from the right. And that's true. The right comes to us faster, but they also leave faster. The left comes to us slower, but they leave slower. If someone from the left comes to us, generally speaking, if they actually come to us, they tend to stay. The right, you can see them come in and then, masters, they leave and then they come back again. And then they leave again, they come back again. I think it's true.
We have sort of, we've got a sort of a spine in Arizona of
I like that.
People who have been around, 20-ish, 30-ish years, but it's a few of us. If you look at the width of a spine as, say, compared to the width of a whole body, the spine is really skinny, but without a spine, you don't stand up straight. So
I agree with you. And I see in New York State, most of our long-term activists and party members, most have moved away. That's very hard for us. New York State, they're all leaving. So we do have some who've been here many years. We do. But that core group that maybe was, for say, from the year 2000 or 2010, a lot of them have just left. We have a very new group of people, and they don't have the same, how do I explain? They don't have the gravitas yet. They don't have the experience yet.
Right.
And so we're regrouping in a lot of ways. We don't have that spine.
Right. Yeah. So around that, I would say that a lot of sort of who has functioned as the hands, the mouth, the organs, the longevity tends to be 3 to 5 years. And, I know I'm a little bit loony, that hung around forever, but I like to say politics is my only sport. And life has its own movement, and people get different jobs, or they get
married, yes,
they have a child, or they have a second child, or they develop a terminal.
With that in mind, let me ask, Emily, with that in mind, we had a big hit last year. The Libertarian Party did not do well last year. We got beat up badly in many states across the country. We lost some good people in office. We did not have a good year last year. That's true. What do you see as the future for Arizona? What's your gut? What do you think is going to happen coming up here in 2023, 2024? Do you have a feel?
I hope we're still growing. So our percentage, so we're still very tiny, but our percentage of the electorate has actually increased because less so because we registered more people, which unfortunately we didn't really, but because when the inactive voters were purged from the voter rolls, which was another thing that the Republicans set themselves about doing last year, what in terms of what was left, we had a bigger footprint.
Okay.
The other thing is that whether you feel like it makes Arizona more independent and freedom oriented, or whether you feel like it makes Arizona more purple, party not declared or independents are the largest voting bloc here.
There we go.
The independents have a couple 100,000 more than Republicans now.
Wow, that's amazing. We are in New York. We're nowhere near that. There are about 12 or 13, I think 12,000, maybe about 11 or 12 million registered voters in New York State, something like that. 6.5 million are Democrats.
I see.
About a little more than 3 million are independent, and about 2.5 million are Republican.
Okay.
So the independents beat the Republicans in my state, but Democrats dominate my state. We're almost 3-1 Democrats, Republican in my state. We are a deep, deep blue state.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And, that would pretty much comport with, what I would have been familiar with when I lived in the Northeast. Once upon a time, Arizona had that kind of a ratio in favor of the Republicans.
Right.
But the thing to keep in mind is that the model of Republican that they followed was a Barry Goldwater style Republican. And the current crop are not.
Right. Right.
And so I have this little speech that that I give about freedom in Arizona, and I talk about Cochise, Geronimo, and Barry Goldwater, and and it resonates. And so those people who would have been the Goldwater Republicans are not comfortable or happy in the mega influenced Republican Party. Some of them we are probably a little too out there for. Sure. My belief is that the independents are much more with us than they realize that they are. And I think that at least in our state with our demographics, the independents are really who mirrors us,
Got it. And I like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So hold on. Ryan asked a question. Ryan says, Emily, would Barry Water be a libertarian today?
His brother says so, and his kids say so.
There we go. I like that. Question answered. Juan says, libertarians are sometimes labeled as pot-smoking Republicans or gun-toting Democrats. Sadly, Blake Masters enforced that belief. The truth is that libertarians have no home in either party. We should do everything to fight that stereotype because we're the party of principles, not of elite politicians. We're the only true alternative to duopoly. Vote gold. Look at that. Juan killing it.
You come on out here. You come on out here. We need that help. You come on out here.
There we go. Right no, he's in New York. You don't get him, Emily. I can hardly any of these guys. I get to keep him.
He needs to come here. He needs to come here. I bet that he doesn't want to pay for heat in the winter. He needs to come here.
There we go. I like that. That's good. Well, Emily, I really want to say thank you so much for giving me so much of your time this evening. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for publicizing our party. We are going to be 51 years old this year. Sometimes it's a wing and a prayer, but as I said, we like to say that this impulse to freedom is etched on our landscape and it's etched in our history. And again, if you really want to talk about fighting for freedom, let's talk about Cochise and Geronimo and Barry Goldwater.
I agree completely.
And so thank you for giving the AZLP the chance to speak to your audience. And it's absolutely really been an honor. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone else, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you all